The Engineers Board of Kenya has called for professionalism in the engineering fraternity. This comes after several buildings were reported to have collapsed in the previous month. Speaking on behalf of the engineer Joseph Mungai Mbogwa, who is the Principal Secretary, State Department of Roads, Ministry and Transport, during the consultative meeting, Nairobi Chief Engineer Kongo added that there is practice of their profession. Engineers must work under standards of professional behavior and embrace teamwork and unity. Let's take a look.
The Engineers Board of Kenya has called for professionalism in engineering fraternity. Speaking on behalf of Engineer Joseph Mungai Mbogwa, who is the Principal Secretary, State Department of Roads, during a consultative meeting in Nairobi, Chief Engineer Kungu said in the practice of their profession, engineers must work under standards of professional behavior, adding that public outcry of collapsing infrastructure needs to be taken seriously by all stakeholders. The call came in timely just after several buildings were reported to have collapsed in the previous month in the capital, Nairobi.
I am concerned about the events that has led to unnecessary loss of life, more so where such situations are under the specific control and order of appropriately trained, skilled and qualified personnel. The public outcry of collapsing infrastructure leading to unnecessary loss of human lives need to be taken seriously by all the stakeholders, some of whom are gathered here today. Besides loss of life, such unnecessary collapse of infrastructure impacts the economy and equally results in loss of investor confidence. I want to urge all players in infrastructure development, be they be investors, our county governments, private sector, contractors, or the general public to engage professionalism at all levels of the value chain. I'm glad that the board developed the scale of fees to ensure value for money for the public. This will result in the reduction of the collapse of infrastructure as the consumers of engineering services have proper engagement framework in the form of scale of fees. Our sister ministry, Roads, Housing and Urban Development, constituted a multi-sectoral committee which the chairman alluded to address the collapse of buildings. And the government through the regulatory and enforcement bodies will call on all parties to account for as far as compliance is concerned.
The board further urged government agencies and stakeholders to foster strong collaboration and cooperation in enhancing public safety and welfare by implementing the engineer's scale of fees. In addition, they should embrace teamwork and work as one government irrespective of their departments.
The government has to change the way it's doing business. So we have to move away from working as separate entities or groups. We start working as teams. Like in this sector, if you're in the built environment, for example, then we should be working as teams. And finally, we work as one government. So irrespective of which ministry, department, we are going to work together. So
the Kenyan capital has witnessed frequent building collapses in recent years, with the government blaming the deaths on corrupt Nairobi County officials who take bribes and ignore the mandatory inspections. Poor workmanship is the leading cause of building collapses in Kenya, according to an audit report done by the National Construction Authority on building collapses in the country. In 2019, 42 people died in Nairobi after a 6-story building collapsed. From 2019 to 2022, dozens have died in separate accidents of collapsed buildings in Kenya.